Just a quick note before today's video begins. Nothing has been confirmed about Starfield. Starfield has not been announced or confirmed by Bethesda Game Studios. So with that said, please enjoy the rest of this video. Hey, what is going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about Bethesda Game Studios, and more specifically, I want to talk about Starfield, and even more specifically, I want to talk about what would Starfield be about. Now, if you are someone who has been following Bethesda Game Studios for a very long time, you would know that Starfield is the new IP and supposed next title coming from Bethesda Game Studios. Or at least that's what many people who follow Bethesda Game Studios and who report on Bethesda Game Studios seem to be predicting. Now, for those of you who do not know what Starfield is or what it has to do with Bethesda Game Studios, it is a recently renewed IP or trademark by Bethesda Game Studios, and many are speculating that it may be the next game coming from Bethesda Game Studios. If you want to know more about it, I will leave a link to this article, which summarizes Starfield and basically tells you everything you need to know about it and tells you how it is related and connected to Bethesda Game Studios, the people who make Fallout 4 and the Elder Scrolls franchise. Or the Fallout franchise and the Elder Scrolls franchise. Now keep in mind, this video is not about if Starfield is coming next from Bethesda Game Studios. This video is not about if Starfield is real or not. What this video is about is if Starfield is real, which I believe it is, what would the game be about, or what type of game would it be? So guys, let's get into it. Now, with a name like Starfield, I expect it to be some type of game set in space, with a space setting, or heavily involving or relying on space as sort of the atmosphere or the place where the game takes place. Now guys, I think like many Bethesda Game Studios games, it will be an open world RPG type game. However, I feel like when Starfield comes out, if it does come out, I feel like it'll be the most biggest and baddest game Bethesda Game Studios has ever produced. I have a feeling there will be multi-planetary exploration in this game, basically where you could travel to planet and explore, do quests, and basically anything that you could do in a regular Bethesda game like Fallout 4 or the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I think it's going to be like that, but in space with a much different setting, obviously. I have a feeling there's going to be multiple alien races in the game, just like we see with Bethesda's other games like Fallout 4, where you have regular people, where you have ghouls, raiders, all your types of stuff. And then if you go into Skyrim, you have the Khajiit, you have the Argonians, you have the Nords, you have the Imperials, you have all the other ones as well. The elves and the high elves and stuff like that. So I have a feeling it will be a very big and bad game, the biggest one Bethesda Game Studios has ever released. The reason why I think it's going to be the biggest one they ever will release or have released so far is basically, for those of you guys that don't know, Bethesda Game Studios now has 2 studios, so it's possible that the game could have been so big and so massive that they needed a second studio to stay on track and get the game released, or the game was so big that, you know, they needed both studios to complete it. We also have, if you guys remember a while back, Bethesda Game Studios was looking at building a new engine to run games off of. So this makes me think it's going to be a much bigger and much more powerful engine, the one that they're developing their next game with, which makes me believe that this next game, Starfield, if it is the next game from Bethesda Game Studios, that is going to be very big and very awesome. So guys, like I was saying, I think it's going to be a open world sandbox type game like many Bethesda Game Studios games are. I think it's going to be an RPG set in space with multiple alien races and stuff like that. I think you're going to have your own ship and be able to travel from planet to planet freely, hopefully. And you're going to be able to go to certain planets, gather resources, certain resources you can't find on certain planets, and so on and so forth. Kind of like what we've seen with No Man's Sky, but a much better version of it, and kind of like what we've seen with Mass Effect Andromeda, but a much better version of it. I think your ship's going to be fully customizable. I think a lot of stuff is going to be possible in Starfield. I think you're going to be able to have your own home and your own base and all that kind of good stuff. However, if there is no multi-planetary exploration, I believe it's going to be a game set in space with some type of space battles and stuff, where you get to get in a fighter jet or like a plane and fight people. I also think it's possible that it's just going to be set on one planet with multiple alien races, and it's going to be very large and very big, like all Bethesda Game Studios games are, like Fallout 4 and The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I think it's going to be exactly like that, but much bigger. I think the game would also have some type of element of maybe settlement building or city building, kind of like what we've seen with Fallout 4. Maybe they'll apply that to Starfield as well. But keep in mind, guys, this is all just speculation. This video is more for fun than anything, guessing on or predicting what Starfield would be about if it is the next title from Bethesda Game Studios and if it is real. So guys, like I was saying, I think it's going to be a very large open world sandbox type game like many Bethesda Game Studios games are. I believe that there will be multi-planetary exploration, but maybe not. Bethesda Game Studios, they usually produce a really, really good world. Like when it has ratios, if you will, like maps, if you will, Fallout 4, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, you really could only explore Skyrim and stuff like that, which is still pretty fantastic and awesome. But yeah, maybe there might not be multi-planetary exploration. Maybe you'll just be able to explore one planet in one area, like kind of what we see with Fallout 4 and The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. But I think there will be multi-planetary exploration. I think space will have to do with it heavily. Since it's set in space, I think you will probably have a spaceship. You'll be able to travel from place to place, gathering resources, and basically like any other Bethesda Game Studios game, but set in space on a much bigger and better scale. Yeah, so I think it's going to be kind of an open world RPG set in space with multi-planetary exploration, with multiple alien races, with multiple things you could do, like have your own home, build your own base, maybe even build your own city, colonize an outpost, something like that. Now, what do I think the game is going to be about? What do I think the story is going to be about? To be honest, guys, I don't really know. I don't really have any predictions for that. But if I had to choose one, I would most likely choose, maybe somebody in your family's been kidnapped and you have to go, throughout space trying to get them and find them and stuff like that. Or maybe, somebody's been taken from you or something's been taken from you and you have to go find it or track it down or something like that. Or maybe you're like a mercenary, right? And you're hired to find stuff and you go throughout the galaxy finding stuff, going to different places and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. Maybe you're just a random guy, like a prisoner, like you were in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, where something happens and you get out and you get to go explore and stuff like that. And there's a war going on and you have to choose a side. Because that's usually what happens in Bethesda Game Studios games. There's usually some kind of war going on and you usually have to choose a side. And I think maybe we might see that in Starfield as well, but just on a much larger and bigger scale with multiple alien races and stuff like that. Kind of like what we've seen in Fallout 4, where you had multiple factions to choose to join and stuff like that. So yeah, I really don't know what the game is going to be about. All I know is kind of what genre it would be. I obviously know it's going to be a single player game, because that's what Bethesda Game Studios produces all the time. Some people are predicting it's going to be an MMO. I honestly don't think it's going to be an MMO. One, because Bethesda Game Studios just announced, hashtag save single player. And I don't think that their next game from their biggest, from them, Bethesda Game Studios, would go ahead and essentially be a MMO. In that case, I think it's going to be a single player game. I think it's going to be the biggest and baddest game Bethesda Game Studios ever produced. I have a feeling that they're putting a lot of time and resources into it. Maybe that's why we've been seeing Fallout 4 VR and the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim VR. Maybe they needed more resources and more funds to actually make the game possible because it was so big, it was so awesome and amazing. But honestly, guys, who knows what Starfield would be about if it came out. Like I said, in summary, I honestly think it's going to be about space, open world, sandbox type thing that like we've seen from Bethesda Game Studios in the past. I think it's going to be very large. I think you're going to have your own spaceship. I think there's going to be some version of settlement building. I think that there's going to be a lot of weapons. I think that the game's going to be very unique and awesome, very big. I think it's going to be classic RPG Bethesda type game like we see, where you have to choose a side and stuff like that. And I think if it comes out, it's just going to be an all-around amazing, fantastic game. Because every time we see Bethesda Game Studios release a game, it's awesome. It's fantastic. In my opinion, they've never released a bad game. Sure, Fallout 4 didn't meet some of my expectations, but it was still a great game, even though it didn't meet some of my expectations. It was still a great, fantastic, and all-around amazing game. And I've never seen anything bad from Bethesda Game Studios, and I believe if Starfield is the new IP in the next game, I believe it'll be very big, awesome, and badass. So yeah, guys, that's what I think Starfield will be about. That's kind of the type of content that I think it'll be or have. What do you guys think Starfield will be about? What type of genre do you guys think it'll be? Do you guys think it'll be MMO? Do you guys think it'll be single player? What do you guys think the story is going to be about? Are you going to be someone who has to choose a side like always? Or is it going to be something different where you could decide the fate of the galaxy or need to save the galaxy or something's taken from you and you got to find it? What do you guys think the game is going to be about? Anyways, leave that in the comment section below. I would love to hear your guys' idea on what you guys think Starfield will be about. So whatever you guys think Starfield will be about, whatever type of content you have in mind for the game, whatever you think it will be about, leave that in the comment section below. Anyways, guys, I love each and every single one of you. I will see you guys right back here tomorrow. And remember to stay freaky.